to avoid any technical interference with microphones and taping of the meeting. A Spanish call-in line for the community to hear the meeting interpreted live has been established. The number is 508-924-5155. Again, a Spanish call-in line for the community to hear the meeting interpreted live has been established. The number is 508-924-5155. Board member Laurel Ruiz will please make the announcement in Spanish.
Un número de servicios de interpretación en español de esta reunión de la Junta Escolar de Prince George's County está disponible al número 508-924-5155. 508-924-5155.
Gracias. Finally, for those who are not able to observe now, this meeting is being recorded and can be accessed for later viewing via the Prince George's County Prince George's County Public Schools YouTube channel. Now we will move to the board prayer and pledge allegiance. And one of our newest board members, Madeline Lasalle Frazier, please lead us in prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow our heads. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Steer us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen. Oh Dios, oramos que seas tú quien administres la justicia en toda política educacional, que tengamos entendimiento y seamos conscientes que tú eres guía. Maneja tu acción con amor, sabiduría y entendimiento. Amén.
Amén.
I pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Berkeley, would you please call the roll?
Good evening, board members and administration. Mrs. Adams Stafford,
Here.
Ms. Boozer Strother,
Here.
Mr. Saron Ruiz,
Here.
Mr. Harris,
Here.
Mrs. Lasalle Frazier,
Present.
Mrs. Mickens Murray,
Here.
Dr. Z. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Murray, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Valentine, Mrs. Williams,
Present.
Dr. Miller.
Present. We have a quorum. Now, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. Saron did make the
Second.
motion. It has been moved and second to adopt the agenda for April 28th, 2022 board meeting. Is there any discussion? Having none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? The motion passes to accept the agenda for April 28th, 2022. Now we will have approval of the board meetings from April 7th board work session. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and second to approve the minutes from the April 7th board work session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries to approve the board meetings for April 7th, 2022. Now we will have a news break, the magic of reading. Please turn your attention to the projector to view tonight's news break presentation entitled The Magic of Reading.
Oh, I'm so proud of you guys. Mr. Jonas, what kind of book are you going to get? Are you going to get a mystery book?
While most fairies have a set of wings, a magic wand, and plenty of joy to spread around, Bladensburg Elementary School's book fairy has something even more wondrous. A vending machine that makes literary dreams come true. Yes, instead of dispensing snacks and sodas to quell hunger pangs, the Inchy Bookworm Vending Machine, sponsored by Geico and the first of its kind in the county, is a bonanza for students hungry for knowledge and adventure. With tempting titles and colorful covers of the brand new books peering through the glass, who among us can resist?
I just wanted them to be enthusiastic about receiving their incentives. And I said, okay, why not? Let's dress up. You know, it's pink, it's a tutu. You know, my husband would be like, okay, any excuse to wear a tutu, right? But I love it. You know, the wings itself, I made it as a motivation. I said, the more you guys read, the bigger my wings are going to get. And I've been adding little by little more pages to it. So they're enthusiastic about seeing the book fairy. And I've tried to keep it as incognito as much as possible and to let them know that it's not Miss Franco Cruz, it's the book fairy.
To purchase their new books, students don't need cash, but some sweat equity is required. For to earn the gold tokens accepted by the machine, students must demonstrate good reading habits, have exemplary attendance, and or behave in commendable ways, all of which they are doing in droves.
They are eager when we travel throughout the building with our incentives. We have tokens in our pockets, and everybody has a book to read. So the goal for us this month is 600 minutes. The initial incentive was initiated by Mrs. Battle and her reading team, including our book fairy, and we wanted to build reading stamina for our students here at Bladensburg Elementary, particularly after the pandemic. We needed to get them back in the groove. So now they look forward to seeing us because they think, I'm going to earn a token, I got to get to that machine.
It has surpassed my expectations. You know, when you see something in print, it's but when it's actually live, when they wheeled it in, it became real. I said, this is something that's happening, and it's happening here at the best school in Prince George's County.
As for the kinds of books in the machine, the book fairy has yielded to popular demand.
I asked the children, I said, what are you guys reading now? What are you into? You know, comics are big right now, and they love the Captain Underpants and Dogman. So I just try to go back to what they want, and they're very vocal. They tell me, oh, Miss Franco, I want this, I want princesses. No, I want sharks.
I love this book, but I don't know how this story is really long. But and when the first time that Dr. Strange was in an accident, he went to another country.
He did? What do you think about this vending machine? You want to get some more books?
Yes, for my mom. My mom has not read, so I need more books for my mom.
So for students like Francisco, the new books will let him pay forward to his family his own love of reading. A gift that would make any book fairy kick up her heels. This is Dave Zarin reporting.
Oh, that is great. That was great. Absolutely, quite innovative. Any comments from board members? Well, it was a great innovation and another pathway to assisting in closing that academic achievement gap, I would think, as an educator. Now we will move to 2.8, the unsung partner. Colleagues and audience, each month we will be recognizing an unsung partner of Prince George's County by highlighting their accomplishments and triumphs achieved behind the spotlight. I would like to yield the floor to Vice Chair Williams to present this month's unsung partner awardee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to recognize for the April Unsung Hero, Miss Dolores Millhouse. This is a really big surprise for her. She is a mother of 2 PGCPS students. She is an engaged parent,
See, she's over there surprised. She's an engaged parent who supports her children's matriculation through the PGCPS school system. She's been an advocate for the award-winning language immersion programs for years, and where we have continued to extend the program into middle school. And this is partially because of her staunch advocacy for that program, and she always supported the importance of having students learn 2 languages, how it helps to develop their brain, and how it gives them the ability to communicate with other students and cultures outside of the United States. Her perspective on the language immersion program has given the board the parents' perspective and has given us the reason why we have supported the expansion. She also brings her children along all the time with her to give us the child's perspective as well. Her son has spoken to the board probably 5 or 6 times since I've been on the board, and I've always appreciated seeing the student's perspective and watching him grow into I believe he's a 6th grader now. And I've seen him grow and become more confident. She now has a daughter who is in the program as well. Parents like her are the jewel of PGCPS, and they are the fuel behind the reasons that we do our work every day and continue to make us PGCPS proud. Miss Dolores Millhouse, you are our April Unsung Hero. Come on up. Ms. Dolores Millhouse, in recognition of your support and advocacy for the Prince George's County Public Schools Language Immersion Program, the Board of Education celebrates, recognizes, and thanks you for your service.
I'd like to just add to that, that is a contribution to you in terms, and to our system, because our system received the silver from the National School Board Association for our immersion programs. Thank you. Board members, you want to take a picture? Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Dolores Millhouse. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Now we have another acknowledgement to make. Special acknowledgement at that. the Washington Post Teacher and Principal of the Year finalists. Colleagues, each year the Washington Post presents the Teacher and Principal of the Year award to encourage excellence in school leadership and contribute to the improvement of education in the Washington metropolitan area. This year, the Post has recognized two of our very own as finalists for their coveted award. I have invited them both here this evening to publicly and proudly acknowledge their nominations and to thank them for their continued dedication to the Prince George's County Public School community at large. And an extra special thanks for the hands-on, day-to-day work that they perform with our most valuable and important stakeholders, our scholars. Everyone, please join me in celebrating the Teacher of the Year finalist, Mr. Thomas Pierre, who is the music educator at Thomas G. Pullen Creative and Performing Arts Academy. Mr. Valentine, would you? And for the Principal of the Year, Dr. Wanda Williams, Principal at Oxon Hill Elementary School. Dr. Williams, this is your board representative. Okay. She's going to hand you your award.
Read it or?
Well, read it.
Could we give everybody a slide over a little to the right side? Please? Yep. Right there first.
This is presented to Dr. Wanda Williams for the 2022 Washington Post Principal of the Year finalist at Oxon Hill Elementary School. Congratulations on becoming a finalist for the coveted Washington Post 2022 Principal of the Year Award. Being named a finalist for this award is a fitting testament of your high standards as an educator, your hard work, integrity, and staunch advocacy for assurance and appropriate and excellent education for children and wraparound support for their families has been recognized at the highest level of Prince George's County Public Schools in New York. Thank you for continuing to make us PGCPS proud.
This is presented to Thomas Pierre, but I do want to say, when I first met Thomas Pierre, he was really clear to remind me that at the time, he is the only nationally board certified music teacher in our district at the time. Someone who put a lot of work into the profession, but also was one of the co-founders of the Male Educator Network of Prince George's County Public Schools. Someone who said, not only am I nationally board certified, first, I want to make sure there are other male students, particularly educators of color, who are just like me. So he's not only an educator, he's also someone who's really trying to create a pipeline for the next Thomas Pierre. So when I read about him being a finalist, I was not surprised whatsoever because he's such a shining example of what we can do with our system, particularly to recruit and retain educators of color. So let me just read this really quickly. Thomas Pierre, 2022 Washington Post Teacher of the Year finalist, Thomas Fuller, Creative and Performing Arts Academy. Congratulations on becoming the finalist for the coveted Washington Post 2022 Teacher of the Year Award. Being named a finalist for this award is a fitting testament to your high standards as an educator, your hard work, integrity, and staunch advocacy for the assurance of appropriate and excellent education for children and the wraparound support for their families have been recognized at the highest level of Prince George's County Public Schools and beyond. Thank you for continuing to make us all PGCPS proud. Thomas Pierre has given awards like this to educators throughout the system for years. I'm glad he's finally getting his rose and his award.
Would you all take your mask off and picture on? Thank you for historical purposes, so they'll know it was you.
3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, and 1. Back.
Next on our agenda, I have the distinct privilege of introducing our newest board member, Dr. Zipporah Miller. Dr. Zipporah Miller possesses international, national, state, and local experiences in education. She has a strong background in STEM, coupled with extensive school-based and central office leadership experiences. She holds a bachelor's degree from Children State College, a master's degree in school administration and supervision from Bowie State University, and a doctoral degree in school system leadership from the University of Maryland College Park. She began her career as a science teacher at Forestville High School, where she also served as a volleyball and track and field coach. Her impact as a teacher was to inspire students to consider STEM fields as a career path. Her classroom afforded students opportunities to experience science in a way that was relevant, engaging, and thought-provoking. During her tenure with the Prince George's County Public School System, she served in various leadership roles, such as magnet coordinator at Drew Freeman Middle School, assistant principal at Central High School, program administrator at the Howard B. Owens Science Center, and science supervisor. She has also served in the national arena as the Associate Executive Director for Professional Development Programs and Conferences. There, she led the efforts in designing professional development to enhance science teaching and learning across the country. In her current role, she serves as the Director for Organizational Learning for the Anne Arundel Public School System. In her community, she has served as the PTA President for Heather Hills Elementary School, assisted with Model United Nations and the Science Bowl team with Judith B. Hoyer Montessori School, Education Chair for the Prince George's County Chapter of Jack and Jill, and the Road College and Teachers Matter Ministry at her church. Her passion is to ensure that every child is afforded equitable access to well-rounded educational programs. Colleagues, before I introduce her, one part that was left out, she is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, which contributes a lot of service programs for our students as well as services to our community. With that, I'd like to introduce and welcome Dr. Zipporah Miller. Now, you may hear me refer to her as Board Member Z, just so that there won't be any confusion. The purpose and intent of HB 479 is to cement throughout the state of Maryland a day of recognition in honor of one of our nation's most treasured symbols of accomplishment, bravery, and commitment to the county, the Tuskegee Airmen. The month of March was targeted for this occasion, as it also serves as the month the first aviation cadets completed their training and received their wings. Although the Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day does not constitute a statewide holiday, it does, however, take this opportunity to place the rich legacy of these American heroes on the hearts and minds of all Marylanders for years to come. Many thanks to Delegate Fennell for moving this historically significant legislation forward. Now, I will ask for you, all of you, for a moment of silence. This is a time that we join in honoring the memory of the following Prince George's County Public Schools staff, family, and community members with a moment of silence. For Alexis Harrell, bus driver, Forestville Bus Lot Transportation Department. Zelda Lawrence, mother of Dr. Tracy Jones, supervisor of school health. Laura Escobar, school registrar, High Point High School. Joseph Blake, night lead cleaner, Suitland Elementary School. Robert Blaker, father of Stephen Baker, principal, College Park Academy Public Charter School. Ferdinand Altier, teacher, Northview Elementary School. Amanda Seeley, professional school counselor, Suitland High School. Please continue to keep these families in your thoughts and prayers. Amen. Upcoming meetings of the board. Please check our webpage for information about upcoming board meetings. The next public meeting of the board will be held Thursday, May 12th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Tuesday, May 17th at 5 p.m., the Policy and Governance Committee meeting. Wednesday, May 18th, 7 p.m., Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee meeting. And Monday, May 23rd at 5:30 p.m., Academic Achievement Committee meeting. I'd just like to take this moment to introduce the chairpersons of these committees, because they have pre-planning committee meetings, then they have the committee meetings, then they have the board meetings with with us. So for the Policy and Governance Committee, would the members stand? Judy Mickens Murray now serves as the chair of that committee. Am I correct? Raise your hand so they can see you. Okay. The chairperson for the Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee, well, better known as OBAFA, is board member Kenneth Harris. And he has been doing a fantastic job. Our meetings last up 1 hour. And we get a lot done. Thank you, all of you, for your leadership. Finally, I would like to announce, I'm going to get beat up. And the Academic Achievement Committee chairperson, board member Adam Stafford. Finally, I would like to announce that the May 12th board work session will be the only meeting of the full board in May, and so therefore the May 26th board meeting has been canceled due to competing priorities for administration during the graduation season. Again, please check our webpage for information about upcoming board meetings. At this point, I will now yield the floor to board members Adam Stafford and Mickens Murray for an announcement regarding the application process for interested ethics panel volunteers. Oh, and for the information for the public, on April 15th, our ethics panel board members resigned, all of them. So we are currently without members on that board. And the application process will be explained.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Miller. So the committee, board member Mickens Murray and myself have prepared a news release and application requirements for the ethics panel. We will be posting and sending out the specifics this week, and the applications will be due on May 10th. Individuals that are interested in serving on the panel must submit a letter of interest along with a resume or other documentation to support the application, and that information, again, will be coming out this week via all channels so that folks can determine if they would like to apply. And again, those applications will be due no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Thank you.
Again, that date is May 22nd, am I correct?
I'm sorry, May 10th, 2022.
Oh, May 10th,
Tuesday, 5
2022.
p.m., May 10th, 2022.
Thank you. Now, who should those applications be directed to once people apply?
Yes, that information will be released in the news release and when it's posted online, but That information will be directed towards Anise Ellis. And her email is Annice, ANNICE .Ellis, ELLIS @pgcps.org.
Thank you. Any comments, Ms. Pickens-Murray? That's it? That's it? Okay. Thank you. Now we will move to the Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Golson, I will now yield the floor to you to present your report.
Thank you. Good evening. Congratulations again to the Oxon Hill Elementary School Principal, Dr. Wanda Williams, and the Thomas G. Pullen Creative and Performing Arts teacher, Mr. Thomas Pierre, who were finalists for the 2022 Washington Post Principal and Teacher of the Year Awards. They represent outstanding work and in-school leadership and classroom instruction, and I am so proud of their achievement. This week, the Maryland Association for Environmental and Outdoor Education released its list of new and recertified Maryland green schools. I am very proud to share that 5 of the 16 new green schools statewide are right here in PGCPS. They are Benjamin Stoddard Middle School, C. Elizabeth Reed Regional School, G. James Goldson Middle School, Imagine Foundation at Leland, and Surrattsville High School. In addition, 26 of our schools were recertified this year. We now have 135 green schools, 65% of our 208 schools, thanks to the hard work of our green school teams and the certification support provided by William Schmidt Outdoor Education Center staff. Statewide, PGCPS has the highest number of green schools and the largest number of schools applying for certification in 2020. So congratulations. While most of us spent our spring break relaxing with family and friends, our Crossland High School culinary arts students took part in the NASA Hunch Culinary Challenge, landing in the top 10 teams nationwide. They shared their skills at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, where they were challenged to prepare meals for space. Team creations were judged by a panel of astronauts and celebrity chefs. All 10 teams were awarded $12,000 scholarships to the Sullivan University, signed a locker for the International Space Station, enjoyed breakfast with an astronaut, and experienced space through virtual reality. Travel to the competition was made possible through Crossland alumni donations. So congratulations. And lastly, as a reminder, registration for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten is now open. I encourage families to register early for next school year. Details are available on our website at www.pgcps.org. The window for requesting a student transfer is also open. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Golson. Now we will move to item 2.11, outcomes and outputs from our Policy and Governance Committee. Colleagues, I will now yield the floor to our Policy and Governance Committee Chair, Board Member Judy Mickens-Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Policy and Governance Committee is charged with facilitating short and long-range strategic planning for the school system, providing oversight of board policy, legislative and government matters involving federal, state, county, and municipal governmental agencies and officials. The committee shall ensure that board governing policies are current and compliant with federal, state, and county laws and consist with best practices in public education. This school year, the committee reviewed and discussed numerous policies in order to further advance the Prince George's County, it's on. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm speaking through this one. Thank you, though. This school year, the committee reviewed and discussed numerous policies in order to further advance the Prince George's County Public Schools' goal of providing an excellent education to all students and empowering our community. The Policy and Governance Committee members and CEO representatives are myself, Judy Mickens-Murray, as chair, Ms. Pamela Boozer-Strother, vice chair, Ms. Sonia Williams, board vice chair, Dr. Juanita Miller, Board Chair ex officio, Mr. Alvaro Cerrone Ruiz, student member of the board, Ms. Valerie Irving, CEO's Board Liaison, Ms. Robin Welsh, Director, Office of Compliance and Ethics. A member of this committee shall serve as the board liaison to the May Legislative Committee when active. During the 2021-2022 committee meeting schedule, the committee has maintained a monthly meeting schedule that began August 2021, with the final meeting scheduled to be held on June 14, 2022. School year 2021 through 2022 committee work plan outputs and outcomes. An approved work plan for the 2021 through 2022 school year was confirmed at the August 26, 2021 committee meeting. The committee focused on recommendations received from the Chief Executive Officer for the board policies that required review due to legal ramifications, citation, corrections, rescission, civil updates to be in alignment with existing administrative procedures and are enacted. The list is as follows. New policy, pregnant and parenting students. New policy, student registered sex offender, entry onto school property. New draft policy, 1120, Maryland Public Information Act. Policy 0103, inclusive environments for LGBTQIA+ people. Policy 0104, Title IX. Policy 0107, ethics. Policy 0114, school uniforms. Policy 0118, basic commitments. Policy 0122, data dashboard. Policy 0125, non-discrimination. Policy 1100, community schools. Policy 1500, parent and advisory and community advisory council. Policy 5122, interscholastic and extracurricular activities, academic requirements. Policy 5143, bullying, harassment, or intimidation. Policy 5151, student, journalist, and school-sponsored media. Policy 5211, student demonstration. Policy 9100, officers policy. Policy 2513, indigenous peoples lane acknowledgement. Policy 5110, public school choice transfer option. Policy 5119.5, adult education tuition waiver, senior citizens. Policy 5140, no child left behind. Policy 5143, bullying, harassment, or intimidation. Policy 6157, study habits. Then we have the charge of the Policy and Governance Committee supported the following bills for the 2022 Maryland General Assembly. House Bill 19, Education, School Construction, Pedestrian Safety Plans, Safe Walk to School Act 2022. House Bill 0150, Senate Bill 0124, Public Schools, Grant Program to Reduce Waste and Compost School Waste. House Bill 1165, Senate Bill 0588, Capital Projects, High Performance and Green Buildings. House Bill 1426, Senate Bill 640, Primary and Secondary Education Maintenance of Effort Requirements. House Bill 1450, Blueprint for Maryland's Future, Implementation Plans and Fund Alterations. Senate Bill 083, House Bill 05331, Maryland Association of Environmental and Outdoor Education Grant, Funding and Evaluation Extension. Senate Bill 0948, Public Utilities, Electric School Bus Pilot Program. The committee will continue the work of reviewing, updating, and enacting policies in accordance with Policy 9340, policy development in the utmost interest of our stakeholders, Prince George's County students, employees, and community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Mickens-Murray. Don't go away yet. You have to present recommendations regarding the development of the new and revised policies.
Thank you.
So would you please introduce 2.12?
Thank you, I appreciate it, Madam Chair. The Policy Governance Committee met virtually on April 12th, 2022, with the following members in attendance: Judy Mickens-Murray, Committee Chair; Pamela Boozer-Strother, Committee Vice Chair; Alvaro Cerrone-Ruiz and Sonia Williams, Board members; and Dr. Juanita Miller, ex officio member, to discuss the purpose and utility of revised draft policies 0107, ethics regulations, new draft policies, student registered sex offender entry into school property, and 1120 Maryland Public Information Act. The vote was unanimous to approve and forward to the full board for public comment at the April 2022 board meeting. The purpose of Policy 0107, Ethics Regulations, is for guarding against improper influence. The board adopts these ethics regulations to require board members, candidates to be members of the Board of Education, school officials and employees to disclose their financial affairs and to set minimal standards for their conduct of school system business. The purpose of new policy, student registered sex offender entry into school property, are to prohibit students registered as sex offenders from entering onto school property and provide an education to students who are registered sex offenders through other methods in a location other than public school property. The purpose of new policy 1120, Maryland Public Information Act, is to ensure the responsible PGSCPS officials respond to all public record requests made by individuals, organizations, and the media in compliance with the Maryland Public Information Act. Previously, the Policy and Governance Committee met virtually on March 29, 2022. The committee discussed purposes and utility of new draft policy, pregnant and parenting students. By consensus, the vote was unanimous to approve and forward to the full board for public comment at the April 28, 2022 board meeting. The purpose of the new draft policy, pregnant and parenting students, are to prohibit gender discrimination of any type in educational programs and activities, including bias against pregnant and parenting students, to address educational and parenting goals, and to improve the educational outcomes of pregnant and parenting students. If advanced by the board, these policies will be posted on the PGCPS website and publicized by the school district for community input for a period of no later than 2 weeks. After public comments are received, the committee will consider the public comments and recommend any further revisions before making a recommendation to the board for final approval of this version of the policy. So, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we include these policies, the ethics policy 0107, policy 1120, Maryland Public Information Act, and I think those were the only two for public comments.
Okay, there's no second needed when the motion is made on behalf of the committee. Is there any discussion from board members in reference to Board Member Mickens-Murray's report? If not, if there's no discussion, all in favor by signifying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Board Member, she didn't need one. She didn't need one. Any abstentions? Then yeah.
There are 4 policies listed on board docs. You only added 2 to this motion.
But the 2 to the motion were the ones for public comment.
Yes, ma'am, and the other 2?
The other 2, we were just letting the public know that we worked on them.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns?
And thank you.
The motion passes. You did say that. Thank you. Now we will move to the 2.13 legislative update end of session report. Board Member Mickens-Murray, please proceed with the legislative update. Now I can see why you were so hyper earlier.
Of the update. Legislative session, yes. I am very proud. I would like to begin my report tonight by thanking all the members of the Maryland legislature for the incredible job they did to ensure that all students across Maryland will be able to receive a world-class education along with clean and sustainable buildings inside classrooms of the future. We are also proud of the work that was done by students, staff, and members of the community on the Climate Action Working Committee. Their advocacy made a huge difference. I'm especially proud of our own Prince George's County delegation for their tenacious work on behalf of Prince George's County Public Schools. We are truly Prince George's County proud. The highlights from some of the bills, and I'm not going to read them all because they are posted on our board docs. Operating budget. Under the fiscal year 2023 state budget, support for public schools will exceed $7.9 billion. Direct aid to local schools will increase by an estimated $455.6 million, including full funding of all fiscal 2023 blueprint mandates. The budget plan allocates $800 million of fiscal year 2023 revenues to the Blueprint for Maryland's Future Fund to cover the out years cost of the blueprint. This is unprecedented. The budget plan shifts $700 million of capital projects from general obligation bonds to cash, bringing general fund spending on pay-as-you-go capital projects to more than $1.6 billion and freeing up $700 million of GO bonds capacity for legislative priorities. Cybersecurity. The budget includes $110 million to improve state government cybersecurity, including technical and grant support to local governments and school systems. Some of the education funding and policy bills, House Bill 1450, extends the state implementation plan deadline from February 15th through 2022 to December 1, 2022. Extends the MSDE deadline for plan criteria from April 1, 2022 to September 1, 2022. Extends the local implementation plan deadline extended from June 15, 2022 to March 15, 2023, and revises the formula dedicated sales tax revenue to the Blueprint Fund. The bill alters the dates by which The Accountability and Implementation Board must adopt a comprehensive implementation plan for the blueprint of Maryland's future. MSDE must develop criteria for approval or disapproval of local implementation plans, and state and local government units must submit their implementation plans, specifically the bill. This bill also alters the distribution of certain sales and use tax revenues to the Blueprint for Maryland's Future Fund. By June 2023, the comptroller must distribute $800 million in income tax revenues to the Blueprint Fund. Now, all of this money is not for Prince George's County. It's for all the districts, the 23 districts across the state of Maryland. Funding and policy. Clarify that beginning in fiscal year 2023, 25% of the increase in the state's share of major education aid over the amount provided in the prior fiscal year must be automatically withheld from a local school system for the next fiscal year. It requires MSD to collect data by December 1, 2022, necessary to implement the neighborhood poverty indicator methodology recommended by MSDE to calculate compensatory education formula and concentration of poverty grants. The bill was amended to become the vehicle for the major changes to the maintenance of effort originally included in another bill, Senate Bill 640. The maintenance of effort provisions ensure that for fiscal year 2023, a county government must appropriate the greater of the local share of major education aid, accounting for relief revisions, and the maintenance of effort amounts specific in the bill for each county. Therefore, we need someone, Dr. Golson, to ensure that they can track money and report out on it well. The capital budget for public education, Senate Bill 291, the Aging Schools Program provides designated amounts of funding for each of the 24 school systems. The Healthy School Facility Fund provides funds to public primary and secondary schools in the state to improve the health of school facilities. The Supplemental Capital Grant Program for local school systems provides funds to local school systems with enrollment greater that growth that over the last 5 years exceed 150% of the statewide average, or the 250 or more relocable classrooms. So maybe we can work to get away from those portable classrooms. The State Construction Revolving Loan Program provides loans to local governments to fund the local share of school construction costs for local education agencies that rely on the local share to be funded in order to complete the project. Creation of a state debt Maryland Consolidated Capital Bond Loan of 2022 and the Maryland Consolidated Capital Bond Loans of 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. I know this is a lot, but this is extremely good news, not only for our county, but all 24 districts. School personnel. The bill allows local school superintendents and CEOs or the Maryland School for the Deaf to hire up to 25 retirees of each of the teachers' retirement systems and the teachers' pension system as classroom teachers, substitute classroom teachers, teacher mentors, or principals from July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2024. Without the retirees, being subject to any earning limitations. This bill is extended to facilitate the hiring of retired teachers and principals, and to promote the continued service of educators considering retirement. Cybersecurity House Bill 1202, Senate Bill 754. This bill makes numerous changes to the state's cybersecurity infrastructure, practices, and procedures by, among other things, codifying in part and expanding the executive order that establishes the Maryland Cyber Defense Initiatives, establishing the Maryland Department of Energy Management Cybersecurity Preparedness Unit, requiring specific local government entities to annually complete cybersecurity preparedness assessments and make specific reports, and requiring various reports and reviews related to state and local cybersecurity. And finally, Technology and Accessibility, Senate Bill 617, provide equivalent access to and are independently usable by the student. Enable students to acquire the same information with substantially equivalent ease of use. Enable students to participate in the same interactions with substantially equivalent ease and use. Enable students to access, well, they've repeated this 3 times, so I guess it was significant. This bill requires local school systems to provide a student with disabilities access to digital tools. That's important, and we must make sure that we address these issues. School systems must establish an evaluation process for digital tools being considered for development or purchase for conformity with the above requirements by October 1, 2023. And annually thereafter, school systems must submit a report to MSDE on the accessibility of digital tools developed or purchased by the school system. So I know there was a lot. I know there was a lot to get our arms around. But the most exciting part for me is this. We will have the money. Now we must get the resources and the talent in place to deliver for our students. And we're talking about every child in the Prince George's County Public School System. So with that, I yield back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Mickens-Murray. Now we will move, are there any questions? Now we will move to the Board Office 2.14, our Board Office restructuring. To the public, the Board discussed at the March 10th meeting the issue of the Board Office operations restructuring at a closed session meeting on that day. An issue has arisen about whether this discussion and board action should be held in an open session, and therefore, out of an abundance of caution, this item has been placed on tonight's public agenda. It should be noted that at the closed session, the vote was the vote taken, the majority ruled, and we had 1 abstention and 1 nay. Therefore, I'm putting this back on the table in the public for a public vote. I must also state that what is the restructuring? The restructuring was for a vote to turn the daily, day-to-day operations of the board office over to the administration. And it would be under the supervision of the administration. Operations for the board would continue as they have been with staff. However, we had a lengthy discussion about it, and again, the majority voted to take this responsibility on. Dr. Golson, would you like to say anything about? Okay. Dr. Williams, Board Chair, Vice Chair Williams.
I move that we allow the board office to be turned over to the administration for the day-to-day operation.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Discussion, Board Member Adam Stafford.
Yes, thank you so much, and I'd like to thank board leadership for moving this discussion into the public, because I think that is where this conversation should have began. I'd like to just start by saying that it is really an anomaly for a Board of Education to move their staff under the oversight of the school system. And in my research, I have not been able to find another Board of Education in the state of Maryland that has done just that. And just for some context for my colleagues, Board of Education members, as you all know, we are part-time employees, and we rely very heavily on board staff to support us, to do the important work that we must do. And really our one real mission is our primary mission is to provide oversight to the Chief Executive Officer and the school system. So by voting to have the board staff report to the Chief Executive Officer, this undermines the oversight and accountability that's provided by the Board of Education. And so the State Board of Education has stated in an opinion the following, and I quote, "In our view, it would serve no reasonable purpose to place sole authority to supervise board-only employees in the hands of the superintendent. It would certainly unbalance the tenuous balance of power between the board and the superintendent. We do not countenance such a result." And that's Board of Education of Howard County versus Renee Foos, if you're interested in reading that. And so I just want to offer that for discussion, and I just feel that we should keep the board staff under the Board of Education as it has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Stafford. Board Member Judy Mickens Murray.
I would like to add a couple of comments. Board staff reporting to 14 people is unsustainable. Employees need a direct supervisor, and they also need a supervisor that they can appeal to. We were protecting the employees. When you have at-will employees, when you don't have a clear line of a reporting structure, that creates confusion and it puts those employees at risk. So I want to go on the record to say that is the reason I support the board office staff going to the CEO and to the CEO to administration. But also understand this: the board are not the only employees that are under the CEO. All employees are under the CEO, except the board staff. But the board staff will be reassigned to the board. And the other piece is one of the reasons you have conversations in closed session is because we wanted to ensure that none of the employees were hurt, were harmed, and that's still important. So I just wanted to make those comments that this was not done in a vacuum. It was not done without thought, and there is no statutory authority that gives us, this board, control over the board staff.
Thank you, Board Member Mickens Murray. Board Member, oh, Joshua Thomas showed up. Yeah, I just called on him. I didn't know. I saw his number. I didn't know he had arrived.
Great. Thank you. It seemed like a little appropriate way to acknowledge me. Inappropriate way, rather. I wanted to just state in response to Board Member Mickens Murray, I can agree that there is definitely a level of confusion that goes into having board staff reporting to 14 board members. The way that this is supposed to work is that board leadership is supposed to have a role in leading board staff, but they're supposed to do it in compliance with board policy. And when the board makes votes on any given issue, board leadership has a responsibility to carry that out as the policy and the law states. The reason that we have had so much challenge in this is because there have been numerous occasions over the last year where board leadership refused to follow the will of the board. For example, I can state numerous occasions in which I followed board policy in requesting special meetings. There are requirements on the certain number of board members required to request a special meeting and to put together an agenda, and there were numerous occasions in which board leadership directed board staff to not post those meetings on board docs. In cases in which board leadership actually went above that and then deleted information from board docs. And so to board member Mickens-Murray, I think I completely agree that we shouldn't have to have a system where board staff is reporting to 14 board members. The problem is that there's no trust that our board leadership is going to be able to actually manage the board staff with fidelity, as they've proven time and time again that they are unwilling to do so, so long as the will of the board does not meet their personal will. So I am one of the people who supported this in closed session, and after further reflection, I do believe that board staff should not be under the supervision of the CEO, and so I will not be voting in favor of this today.
If Madam Chair would allow me to just make one final comment, since my colleague referenced me. I cannot find a policy nor any language in the law, and Mr. Nussbaum is sitting there, that gives the authority to this board to be overstaffed. It's not there. It's the CEO, we're the CEO, and we have some authority over the audit individual through the CEO. So I can't find it. So I think for us to work professionally, to work well, to protect the employees, this is the only move we have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Williams.
Dr. Miller I wasn't finished. I think she was just responding to me. I just wanted to add, as I'm sitting here, I'm trying to maintain a level of professionalism, but I do want to just name, I really do think it's quite inappropriate and disrespectful for you to, however you chose to acknowledge me. I have parents and family who sometimes watch these board meetings. I just want you to think about how you might feel if somebody were to speak to you like that on this dais and in the public. I think we can all probably agree that that was inappropriate, and I would like to have an apology, but it's not really that deep. I just do want to name that it's very frustrating that you choose to address board members in whatever manner you choose. That's quite unfortunate.
Board Member Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring some clarity on a couple of things. The board is responsible for one individual in the PGCPS school system, and that is the CEO and superintendent, Dr. Golson. All of the other 20,000 employees serve under Dr. Golson. The office in December 2020 was haphazardly reorganized, and there were several employees who were then let go because of the way the office is set up. They are at-will employees. And there was no protection to ensure that when board members have the idea and the votes, that they could at any chance fire or terminate employees that's under our charge. So as a result of the haphazard board reorganization, at this moment, we only have a third of our employees in the office scheduled to serve 14 members. The work that they're responsible for is, like I mentioned, serving 14 members. That means their calendars, constituent services, dealing with challenges that come up with their travel, and other expenses that the board members may have. On top of that work, they're responsible for managing, meaning the board office staff, is responsible for managing and operating every board meeting that we hold. That includes executive session, general open meetings, committee meetings, special focus work group meetings, and other meetings that we might have with PGCPS staff. Between December 2020 and now, as I mentioned, we only have a third of our staff members. And as a result of that haphazard board reorganization, it was the board chair and vice chair who was stepping in to ensure that board staff had someone in place to answer questions to ensure that the work that we're responsible for was facilitated with no volunteer or assistance from other board members. So as a result of that discussion, and as a result of hearing board members have challenges with their work getting completed, the motion was put on the floor to give the oversight of the board office to Dr. Golson. This change will allow Dr. Golson, in her expert experience in managing staff, the 20,000 staff members that she manages, the opportunity to see and create a board office that will manage our work efficiently and effectively, serving not only the 14 board members, but the constituents that we serve as elected and appointed board members. So I would be at a challenge to understand who would not want that. A board member mentioned that could not find other jurisdictions that had a board office that was under the oversight of the CEO. I would like to see the data to show that their board office is set up like ours with staff members that are not protected under a union, that are an at-will employee. I would love to see data to show how many board staff members that they have serving each board member. I would love to see more information about the number of board members that are on that board to ensure that there is a correlation between the number of staff members and the number of board members. I would hate to make a decision based on half information, misinformation, half-truths, and opinions without seeing the data. So I don't believe that we can say, just because there isn't another jurisdiction in Maryland that has staff members under the CEO, that would be sufficient for me to make a decision on. Whenever I make a decision, I read what comes before me, and I make decisions based on data and my experience as a professional board member, as a professional and as a board member. So I would hate to take just something someone has said as gospel and move towards that. In my personal opinion, board staff should be protected, and I think that they will be protected under the CEO's
Thank you, Board
oversight.
Member. Board Member David Murray.
Colleagues, this is...
Is your mic on?
I'll try to speak into it. Colleagues, this idea does not make any sense. I am familiar with a lot of school boards across the country. I don't know of one school board who has given their staff to the superintendent to manage. The entire point of the Board of Education is to oversee the school system and to be the one kind of independent body. This would be like the county council giving their staff to the county executive, or the Congress giving their staff to the president. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure why we're acting as though every other school district in the United States doesn't operate in this fashion. And since the question of legality was brought up, Mr. Nussbaum, is there something that does not allow the board from having its own staff the way it has as long as I've been on the board and before?
No, I don't know of anything in the statute that would prohibit the board from doing either way. In other words, I think
it's up to the board how it wants to delegate authority, I guess, over the board staff. It can either maintain supervisory authority itself, or it can, I think, give it to the CEO.
Understood. I appreciate that. That adds some clarity. I believe Board Member Mickens-Murray was saying that she thought for some reason legally we could not have our staff under the board as we always had. So it's good to know that we were in good legal standing doing that and that it won't present any legal issues to continue doing that. I think that if colleagues want to give the board staff to the superintendent, there probably isn't a point of a school board anymore. And so I will be voting no on this because it doesn't make any sense. And if you talk to any colleagues on any board in Maryland, outside of Maryland, they would tell you the same thing. Thank you.
Board Member Adam Stafford.
Thank you so much. I wanted to address a few things from several of my colleagues. Board Member Mickens-Murray, you talked about the constraints that are on the board staff right now, and that's 100% true. And I think the solution to that would be for us to hire a chief of staff. We have the authority to hire staff as we've done in the past. And so it's really incumbent upon us as a board to do what other boards do, which are to hire the appropriate staff that we need to support the board. Additionally, we should also have a hiring policy. I'm glad to hear the board's leadership concern around really the functions of the board staff and hiring. So my question is, why, when the board staff was under your leadership, did you not draft a hiring policy or add that to our handbook? These are things that are missing that would also provide clarity. These are things that we still can do so that we can have clarity every time that we need to hire more staff. We talk about a haphazard reorganization in 2020. Well, this reorganization also was haphazard. That's the reason we're having this discussion right now in public, because it was held in private at the end of a meeting in which a lot of people were unclear on exactly what the motion was and what it would entail, including members of the administration. Another point that I wanted to make, I'm really happy that you listed out those duties, Vice Chair Williams, that the board staff is responsible for posting information to board docs and ensuring that board staff have the appropriate things that they need in order to be successful. It's funny because now the positions that are listed online really don't describe any of those duties. They describe supporting the director, but they don't describe supporting the board. So how would anyone that applies now be able to properly fulfill those duties? That's not even in the job description. So what I'm saying is, if the state board is our guidepost and we want to be in compliance with the state board, I read to you a quote from the state board saying that this is not best practice. This is not what the state board suggests. And so I think it is prudent of us to follow that, to think about ways that we can come together and hire our board staff and go forward. So thank you very much.
Board Member Valentine.
Thank you. And I'm not going to rehash how we got here or the decision or the process for which restructuring was brought up. The concern I do have is the potential, disruption to existing staff who I think have served the board in a way that has gone above and beyond, at least in my personal experience. And so I guess I'm not sure my question is directly to you, Chair, or to the CEO about how we are structuring the new positions to ensure that those who have served this board honorably and are currently in positions are not disrupted by this particular restructuring. And so I sort of a question and also a comment.
Are you asking that question of me?
Well, no, I understand it's the CEO's decision on how it's going to be structured, and so if that is at all possible.
One of the main reasons that I understood that the board really wanted those employees to fall under administration was to ensure that they were covered under the union. In order to do that, then they all have to apply and interview for union positions. None of the board positions that you have right now are part of a union, and it's not on any pay scales that we have out of the 4 unions that we have. So we would have to ensure that all of those employees applied. We've met with them. We will walk them through that process to ensure that they are in positions that are aligned close to what they're doing now, if they so choose to apply. Others may choose to go to other positions in PGCPS. They may decide not to come back to positions in the board, and we will honor that request.
My follow-up question is, are the restructured positions, at least in the vicinity with regard to compensation to existing positions?
Yes, as stated in one of the closed sessions, there'll be an increase of approximately $661 for 2 of the positions over time. And when you divide that by 26 pay periods, it's not a lot, but it's not less than what they're making. And then the other one could sit in those board liaisons will go into positions that are comparable.
Any other comments? Oh, no, Board Member Mickens Murray, I apologize. Yeah, you hit the button. Board Member Adam Stafford.
Thank you. This question is for our legal counsel.
This is your
I thought
third
you
round.
were acknowledging me, sorry.
This is your 3rd round.
Yes.
You only have 2.
Okay. I had a question about,
You only have 2. Thank you. May I have a call for the vote? Ms. Berkeley, would you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, can you repeat the motion again?
It's a motion to move the board move the board office and its day-to-day operations to the administration. Mrs. Adams Stafford?
No.
Ms. Boozer Strother?
Yes.
Point of clarification, is the student board member allowed to vote on this?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Harris?
Abstain.
Mrs. Lassay Frazier?
Yes.
Mrs. Mickens Murray?
Yes.
Dr. Z. Miller?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Murray?
No. No.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Mr. Valentine?
Aye.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion-
7 ayes, 3 nays, 1 abstention.
The motion carries. The Office of Operations for the Board will be supervised by the administration. Now we will move to 3.0, public comment. Colleagues, we have 14 registered live public comment speakers this evening. This to the public, you have been registered to speak in a public forum where the Board of Education will listen to your comments. The board will not address your comments. You must speak on the topic for which you have been registered. All registered speakers will have 3 minutes to provide comments. At the sound of the buzzer, speakers may complete that sentence only. Registered speakers may not relinquish any part of their speaking time to another registered or unregistered individual. Speakers may not address individuals or issues with profanity or derogatory terms. You will be warned once. If you continue, you may be asked to leave the meeting. Speakers are encouraged to use titles rather than names. For example, principal, CEO, deputy superintendent, etc. Your adherence to these guidelines will enable the public participation process to move smoothly. Our first registered speaker for tonight is Ezra Thomas, 7th grade student at Kenmore Middle School. The topic is Climate Change Action Plan.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Hal,
And my name is Ezra.
and we both go to Kenmore Middle School in Landover, Maryland. I'm in 6th grade,
And I'm in 7th.
and we are both in our school's environmental club, and we also both live in Cheverly. And it hurts us to see how some people can be awful to the environment.
But no matter what other people do and say, we will never stop trying to help our planet.
I will be 13 when I finish middle school, and by then I would like to see less impervious surfaces, because every time it rains too hard, my basement gets flooded. But with recommendation number 7, there will be less impervious surfaces on school grounds, which will help the Chesapeake Bay and other towns, including Cheverly.
And I'll be 14 when I finish middle school. And by then, I want to see reduced amounts of plastic used every year. Because if you didn't know, if all 146,000 students in PGCPS used one plastic water bottle per day, all 180 days a school year, we would throw out 24,480,000 water bottles every year, which isn't the exact numbers, but it's just an estimate of if everyone used a plastic water bottle every day, which would be improved by recommendation number 6, which part of it is every school needs to have an efficient and clean recycling program. Let's recycle the water bottles instead of throwing them out in the trash to go to the landfill.
This also matches recommendation number 1, because recommendation 1 is about teaching kids why and how to be good to the environment, which includes teaching them how to recycle.
The future depends on what we do today. Please,
Join us in saving our planet. A group of individuals in our school helped us make a parachute to show how much people care about the environment.
And although we were not able to bring the parachute, the idea of people coming together and working together to spread the message that we want to work together to help the environment is still there. But we do, however, have a poster of pictures of the parachute.
Wow. Nice. Their time's up.
On the parachute are the 8
On the parachute are the 8 recommendations from the Climate Action Plan.
and each is represented with a drawing that shows what we need to do to follow the recommendations in the Climate Action Plan.
On the top of our parachute are the signatures from our 6th grade class that we presented to, just to show how much people care.
And on the bottom of the parachute is our message.
The future depends on what you do today, not tomorrow. You are in charge of our future, and we hope you can adopt the Climate Action Plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Again, thank you. Yeah. Oh, great job. Thank you, Ms. Berkeley. Next, Henry Kilpatrick, sixth grader at Kenmore Middle School, climate. Oh, they would have, okay, that's great. Nineth Gudera, 11th grader at Oxon Hill High School, CCAP. Climate Action Plan.
Good evening. My name is Nathan Guerrero. I'm a junior at Oxon Hill High School, and tonight I'd like to restate a comment that I made in October of 2021. I wrote that the fate of our world depends on the leaders around the world today, and as a young person, it often feels like those who have contributed the most towards climate change really don't care about the implications it has on my future and our futures. We are going to face worse consequences and worse ones than we face presently. I'm unsure what my future will look like. I want to have children, but I don't know whether that's going to be ethically or morally acceptable if we continue on the path that we're on right now. Taking a look around the world, California was burning, sea levels are still continuing to rise, and the oceans continue to warm as glaciers melt. The fact of the matter is that we, people of all ages today, are responsible for protecting our world and ensuring that there is a safe future for the billions of people that come tomorrow. I can't pass laws and policies, but I can and will continue to use my voice to advocate and fight for a better and brighter future for all because I care. Now, for those of you who are listening, do you care? And I wanted to say this again because I feel like it rings true now more than it did before, that by approving and adopting the climate action recommendation priority recommendations, you're showing that you care about the history that we've already traveled, the present situations that we face right now, and the future issues and potentially solutions that we have to work with right now and create a better future for the future generations that follow us. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Millhouse, first grader at Phyllis Williams Spanish Immersion Elementary School. My teacher is awesome.
Right there. You don't need it.
We get our hand held.
Go ahead.
Come on, baby. You okay?
Hola, mi nombre es Lisa Millhouse. Soy estudiante de primer grado en Phyllis Williams Spanish Immersion. Quiero decirles a todos que amo el español y las matemáticas. Mi maestra, la señora González, es increíble. Hace actividades divertidas y nos ayuda a aprender. También nos hace actuar mejor. Me gusta mi escuela porque es divertida y aprendo muchas cosas. Gracias y que tengas una buena noche. Hi, my name is Lisa. I am a first grader at Phyllis Williams Spanish Immersion. I want to tell everyone that I love Spanish and math. My teacher, Ms. Gonzalez, is awesome. She does fun activities and helps us learn. She also makes us act better. I like my school because it is fun and I learn a lot of things. Thank you and have a good night.
Very well done, Lisa. Thank you. Our next speaker is Noah Millhouse, sixth grader at Kettering Middle School Spanish Immersion Program, supporting staff matters.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Miller and board members. My name is Noah Millhouse, and I am a sixth grader at Kettering Middle School Spanish Immersion Program. All of you have done an amazing job so far this school year by keeping us safe and providing information to communities during this pandemic. So please keep it up. For me, this school year has been incredible, but there are some things that can be improved. A primary area for improvement is teacher support. Based on my experience in the classroom, teachers have to teach while also dealing with kids that can be disruptive. It is not fair to the teacher nor to the other students because it takes away from the lesson. A possible solution could be providing teachers with teaching assistants, which would allow teachers access to another resource in the classroom. This can be especially beneficial in very large classrooms with several students. A teaching assistant, for example, could deal with possible distractions and field questions from students while the main teacher provides instruction. Another solution could be providing schools with an adequate number of substitute teachers so that students are not crammed into classrooms. A creative alternative would be to explore bringing in high school or college students for an opportunity to earn service hours, or retirees who can be compensated for their time. A secondary area of improvement is stress alleviation for teachers. This effort is necessary to make schools better, as without it, teachers may vacate their positions. While parents are the home foundation, teachers make up the first floor, so their social and emotional health are crucial. A solution could involve incorporating 10 to 15 minutes of tea time and yoga for teachers prior to start of the school day in an effort to foster relaxation and stress management. Also, we should ensure comfortable working settings regarding classroom temperatures, as they are often too hot, creating a very unsettling work environment for both teachers and students. Gracias por su atención y por todo lo que hacen. Que tenga una buena noche. Thank you for your attention and for everything you do. Have a good night.
Thank you. Very well done. Next, another Millhouse, Dolores, and she will speak to student achievement is a shared responsibility.
I don't even think I need to say anything. I think that was it. Mic drop, right. I'm done. It has been almost 2 years since I've come before you all, asking you all to support the expansion of language immersion. And as you saw in that video, the hair was different. I was 5 pounds lighter, but I'm here. More hair, a few more pounds, and older children who have allowed me to understand my role as a mother, my role as a partner in education, and what it means for me to be accountable to support the work that the teachers do in the classroom, to support the work that administrations do in the schoolhouse, to support the work that Dr. Golson does with her team, and to support the work that the Board of Education does. What I had the opportunity to do was to sit in front row during the past 2 years and watch how the teachers were instructing. I not only was able to see the models that were being used, but I also had an opportunity to see how my children were learning. I then was able to take a look at who and what I was doing and how I was impacting my children in that entire process. And so I began to dig deep into the data. I looked at the MCAP, I looked at the benchmark information. I did private testing to identify what the gaps, where the gaps were, and what did I need to do to support the teacher, to support my child to close them. What I'm realizing is the data comes out entirely too late. We are in the 6th grade, and I still need to close a gap for 3rd grade. You all heard my son's speech. This was my 2nd time hearing it because I just heard it tonight with him and his tutor as they were working on it. And I can say, and I said I wasn't going to cry, this is the first time in the school year that my son has met expectations for writing, because we worked on closing the gap from 3rd grade until now. I utilized every resource that PGCPS afforded me. We had writing workshops. We are in Civic Voices. He had private tutoring. We used the tutoring that you all offered. And so the information is out there, but what parents lack is how to connect those dots. So we have to determine how we get that information and not just say parents go to the website to find it, but how do we actually build a roadmap when the data comes out that we get it, and yeah, we may get it 2 months later, but we got to figure out how we get this data in parents' hands in a way that they understand it, and then they can connect it to the resources that PGCPS offers. So I'm asking you, I know my time is up, that you all do a lot of committees, but we need to get this data. We need to use this data because it works, as you saw in his speech tonight. So thank you all for the work that you're doing. I will be back. Have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Joseph Jakuta, Climate Parents of Prince George's Climate Change Action Plan.
Good evening, Chair Miller, Vice Chair Williams, and the Board of Education. This testimony is intended to address items 6.1, the Climate Change Action Plan. My name is Joseph Jakuta. I'm the lead volunteer of the Climate Parents of Prince George's, the co-chair of the Climate Action Plan Focus Work Group, and a proud PGCPS father of two. The plan was developed by the Focus Work Group, and it provides a detailed roadmap for PGCPS to achieve the goals that the Board of Education outlined in the resolution adopted unanimously on March 1st, 2021 that called for 100% clean electricity, energy, and transportation and 100% zero waste. This plan will be a valuable resource over the next 5 years for staff to chart their direction, to be used for support for grants and other funding, and to demonstrate to the younger generation of PGCPS their leadership on the issues of sustainability and resiliency. It is quite exciting to see the board's support for this effort. It is a great show of leadership. We did want to make sure you were aware of the community support as well, so we're submitting to the record tonight a letter of support signed by 19 organizations, including municipalities, PTAs, environmental and justice nonprofits. We're also submitting to the record a petition signed by over 100 residents throughout Prince George's County. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the most important reason for me, for PGPS, to adopt this plan. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, both of whom attend PGCPS schools. Their generation will face the worst of climate change if we don't act. Their generation's education will suffer more and more if we have to spend more and more on volatile energy prices and rebuilding after floods instead of on education. But you are making a difference. It is important to me that they, their friends, and their friends they haven't met yet have the best future we can provide them. I'm thankful that you are acting and going to make a difference for all of their futures. Thank you, and I'm thrilled to encourage you to adopt the Climate Change Action Plan this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Jakuta. Lisa Burnham, Individual Climate Plan for Prince George's County Schools. Next, Sarah Gillespie, Climate Change Action Plan. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sarah Gillespie, and I am the recycling technician for Prince George's County Public Schools. I lead recycling, composting, and waste reduction efforts in our schools and facilities. Tonight, I'm here to speak in support of the Prince George's County Public Schools Climate Action Plan. The plan highlights several actions to reduce solid waste sent to the landfill and thus reduce greenhouse gas emissions, conserve natural resources, and make the best use of our resources. In particular, actions such as reducing food waste through share tables, composting food scraps, utilizing compostable food packaging, and reducing non-recyclable waste will greatly decrease the amount of waste we send to the landfill. With each meal PGCPS serves, we have an opportunity to teach and model responsible waste management and resource conservation. An example of this can be illustrated in regards to food packaging by following reduce, reuse, and recycle strategies to eliminate unnecessary packaging, utilize reusables, reduce the amount of packaging, and choose compostable or recyclable containers that can be placed in our PGCPS recycling bins over items that must be sent to the landfill. Additionally, the waste reduction actions in the Climate Action Plan support several current PGCPS programs and initiatives, including recycling, composting, environmental education, and Maryland Green School certification, as well as provide opportunities to reinforce environmental literacy and STEM concepts developed in the classroom through hands-on action, and provide opportunities for student leadership and research projects. All students, regardless of age, can participate in reducing solid waste sent to the landfill. This makes a unique opportunity for our students to see how their individual actions together can collectively reduce the amount of waste PGCPS sends to the landfill. Thank you for your time and for helping to lessen the impact of Prince George's County Public Schools that we have on the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillespie. Next up is Ramon Palcinia Calvo.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today in support of the Climate Change Action Plan. My name is Ramon Palencia Calvo, and I'm the director of Chispa Maryland, a program of the nonprofit environmental organization Maryland Legal Conservation Voters that works with Latino families to build our environmental leadership and to protect our health and our communities. Over the years, we have trained and worked with many families and youth from Prince George's County. Last year, this body adopted a resolution to create a climate change action plan for the school system. The plan that is presented today is the product of months of collaboration between students, parents, experts, and advocates. This climate change action plan provides recommendations to reduce the school system's carbon footprint, reduce waste, and be more efficient, thus saving money to the school district and improving educational and health outcomes for students, staff, and the community in general. For the past year, I have been part of the Climate Change Action Plan work group. During this time, I have seen the enthusiasm of parents and the advocacy of students towards a more sustainable school district, including its transportation operations. We know that diesel school buses are a significant source of toxic air pollution, increasing children's risk of asthma attacks and other illnesses, and harming our climate. This Climate Change Action Plan provides a roadmap to make Prince George's County Public Schools transportation operations more sustainable. The plan, among other things, recommends making bus routes more fuel efficient, reducing unnecessary idling, and electrifying school buses, and improving access to our schools by public transportation, by foot, and wheelchair. This plan and its recommendations will reduce our carbon footprint, provide a healthier environment, and reduce operation costs, all factors that will contribute to better outcomes for children and their future. I urge you to support the Climate Change Action Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calvo. Next up is Alvita Addison, Alpha Kappa Alpha Climate Change Action Plan.
Hello, everyone. I'm a resident of Prince George's County and a member of several community organizations. I had the privilege of being a part of the working group for the Climate Change Action Plan. We conducted research and listened to school and environmental advocates. It is important that we continue our work to do our due diligence to secure a healthy environment, especially in our schools. I urge you to support these efforts in making Maryland a leader in educational and environmental advancement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Addison. Next up is Chloe Waterman, Friends of the Earth, Prince George's Food Equity Council, Climate Action Change.
I can take this off while I talk. I can leave. Hi, my name is Chloe Waterman. I'm here tonight representing the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify tonight, and I specifically want to thank Board Member Boozer Struther for her work getting this Climate Change Action Planning Committee off the ground, which I was thrilled to be able to participate in. I'm speaking today about recommendation number 5, which is related to food and food waste. And food is an issue that is neglected in both climate policy and educational policy when it should be central to both. So I'm thrilled that the Climate Action Plan has such a robust section on food. From a climate perspective, our food and agriculture system accounts for about 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions. PGCPS is the largest food purchaser in the county, and so PGCPS can make a significant impact in mitigating the carbon footprint associated with the food system here in the county. Fortunately, shifting to more climate-friendly menus also has health benefits for our students because those menus are in closer alignment with the dietary guidelines. Plant-rich menus that have a lot of legumes, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains are good for the planet and they're good for our kids. One of the things we did as part of the climate change action planning process was survey students. what do you want to see in this plan? And we had a lot of students say, we want something like Green Mondays or Meatless Mondays. Can we have more plant-based and veg options in our schools? So it's exciting to see kids do want these healthier and climate-friendly options in school. So excited to see that in the Climate Change Action Plan. And in closing, I just want to put a plea out there. You know, adopting the Climate Change Action Plan is obviously step one. But I've worked in my day job on climate action planning processes in a lot of other jurisdictions. And sadly, all too often, the Climate Change Action Plan passes and then nothing happens. So I also just want to urge this board to make sure that you have a solid plan for checking on the implementation of the plan and making sure these initiatives are funded, including making sure that our school meal program has the funding that it needs to make sure every single kid has a healthy and culturally appropriate meal available to them every day at school. So thank you so much for all of the work that this board does for our community and for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Waterman. Rajni Sood Laurent, Climate Change Action Plan.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and good evening for this opportunity to comment on the proposed Climate Action Plan. My name is Rajni Sood Laurent, and I come to you as an active PGCPS parent of 2 children, as well as a worker in the nutrition education field in PGCPS Title I elementary schools. I work for a nutrition education nonprofit building communities of health through fresh food called Brighter Bites. I'm here to speak about the health and well-being of the students and their families in our county, and broadly to our environment, our economy, our workforce. Today, many of our children rely on schools to provide meals. A majority of their nutrition comes from the schools. I am seeing firsthand schools serving more heat and serve meals and shelf-stable items instead of fresh food. I have learned it is not that food is low in supply or that kids are picky eaters and will not eat healthy. It is that we are not giving them the option to make healthier choices. By serving heat and serve meals and shelf-stable items, we're not only contributing to food waste because the children do not want these foods, we limit the ability of our cafeteria staff to prepare wholesome meals, leaving our children hungry and at risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and so many other diseases that result from poor nutrition. And as a parent, I gotta say, I was elated that all PGCPS students would receive free meals this school year. It meant time and money saved for my family and ensuring that my children were nourished and able to focus during school. I assumed the schools would provide nutritious meals with fresh options, but it seems I assumed wrong. My children started coming home tired, and I asked them if they were eating enough at school. I learned that they were not eating school meals and instead throwing food away. I asked other parents if they were experiencing similar issues, and their response was overwhelmingly yes. Shame on us for saying we have an obesity epidemic, type 2 diabetes, and other things, and then we're not doing our part in prevention. I was in a Title I school cafeteria chatting with students about fresh produce, doing simple produce demonstrations. Students were clamoring to try a freshly sliced melon, smell orange zest for the first time, or take a banana on the way to class as a healthy snack. Kids otherwise picked up their lunches, and most threw the food away. I said the school meals, searching for some healthy items. Blue raspberry applesauce was the closest I could come, and I'm sure blue raspberry is artificial. If I had known that, and if other parents knew this, would they want their children offered these unhealthy choices? As soon as they leave school, students are starving, and all go to prepackaged unhealthy snacks like chips, candy, ramen noodles, box items. It becomes a really vicious cycle. Why do school breakfasts have so much sugar content, sometimes as much as desserts, and why are we offering chocolate milk at school? We might think by providing free or reduced meals we are doing our part, but the way I see it, it is opposite actually. We are investing in food that is unhealthy, that students do not want to eat, that school staff honestly do not want to serve their students and would not eat themselves. Schools want to start their own gardens. They want to get kids involved. And so I'm really supporting this climate action. I'm trying to hurry up here, the action plan, and just enable us to be a part of it. Let us be the advocates and leaders in the communities. You've got a lot of parents and family that are behind this, so give us that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Laurent. Board members and audience, this concludes the public comment section. The testimony of commenters who registered and provided written or electronic testimony has been posted on board docs for review by board members and the public. We will now move into item 4.0, the consent agenda. Dr. Goldston, would you please introduce items 4.1 through 4.5 under the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you. Items 4.1 through 4.5 requires board approval of proclamations commemorating National Physical Education and Sports Week, observation of National Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports Emphasis Week, School Nurse Day in Prince George's County Public Schools, and Children's Mental Health Awareness Week in Prince George's County Public Schools.
Thank you. They have a motion to approve items 4.1 and 4 through 4.5.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve items 4.1 through 4.5 under the consent agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? The motion has been adopted to approve the consent agenda for items 4.1 and 4 through 4.5. Next, we will have our budget consent agenda. Dr. Golson, please.
You missed item
introduce.
4.6, sorry.
I apologize, Board Member Boozer Struthers, and I have to compliment you on the work you've done with the work study group on climate change. And with that, would you introduce item 4.6 under the consent agenda?
Thank you so much, Chair Miller. This actually is a proclamation for observation of Pride Month 2022, and I've had the privilege of helping to draft this proclamation this year, and I would like to thank Dr. David Reese for his collaboration in working with the board on this proclamation, but I would like to yield to student member of the board, Alvaro Cerón Ruiz, for some more information and for the adoption.
Thank you, Board Member Boozer Struthers. This proclamation does the duty of affirming the celebration and recognizing the status and rights of the LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and families that walk through the halls of PGCPS. I am truly proud to be able to say that this month, this Pride Month, we're going to be able to celebrate it with our new board policy, with the Inclusive Environments Policy for LGBTQIA people. And I'm just excited for both of these, especially for this proclamation where we are offering even more resources for our schools and for our teachers. For example, designing classroom Google site banners, starting LGBTQIA+ organizations at schools, and all those amazing things and resources that teachers can find in our PGCPS website to commemorate Pride Month, which is such an important month, and I'm excited to see. So Dr. Miller?
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the proclamation for the observation of Pride Month 2022 in June?
So moved.
It has been moved and second to approve the proclamation for the observation of Pride Month 2022 in June. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Now we will move into the budget consent agenda. Dr. Golson, would you please introduce items 5.1 through 5.5?
Yes. Items 5.1 through 5.5 requires board approval of the May 2022 expenditure requirements, a resolution for recommendation of award for instrumental music, approval of contract amendment number 6 for document control services for the Prince George's County Public School Department of Capital Programs, Duvall High School fiscal year 2017 HVAC replacement at Science Wing final payment and acceptance, and the fiscal year 16 Laurel High School SSR Auto Body Addition IT Lab renovation project final payment and acceptance.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve items 5.1 through 5.5 under the budget consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved in second to approve items 5.1 through 5.5 under the budget consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Board Member Vice Chair Williams.
Hi. I just wanted to discuss the item around document control. That is item 5.3. I just wanted to congratulate the staff at the Capital Programs Office on this process. I remember starting way back in 2014 and walking in the halls of the building, and literally on both sides of the hallway were stacks of plans and update plans and things like that from our aging school buildings. And over the years, I've seen that stack of drawings diminish. And so I think it's very important as we begin to consider climate action and we consider what we're doing with the money that we're receiving from the legislature, that we have those plans accessible on our phones, on our tablets, on our computers. And so it wasn't just about taking those documents out of the hallway. It was actually preparing us for what we're dealing with now, which is trying to become a green school system, trying to be able to update our school buildings, dealing with the challenges of mold and keeping our buildings watertight and airtight for our children. And the ability to do that with today's technology, this contract amendment helps us to continue that. So I just wanted to bring that to light, because it's not just about document control and cleaning out the hallways. It's about the future of PGCPS and improving our aging school buildings and keeping our kids in the safe, supportive environments that our strategic plan sets out to do. Thank you.
Board Member Adams Staff.
Thank you so much. I just had some clarifying questions. So from what can you clarify for us, are they asking for an extension of another year? I was trying to make sure I was reading that correctly, or if you could clarify that for me. Could you share a bit about why it's over the contract? Were there more documents that were needed than originally expected? I noticed that it's over by about over $100,000. So maybe if you could share a bit more about that. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Shayla Taylor, Supervisor Capital Programs. This is just for another year of services. So they continue to keep our archive, and it's a searchable digital archive that we don't have the equipment to continue to scan and continue to keep up. So they do all the scanning for us, the digitizing, and then they maintain the cloud. So this is another year of services.
I guess my follow-up question is, so it's asking for additional funding. Would this be an annual fee now going forward of $146,000 for them to store them?
Yes, to store and to continue to update the archive library.
Okay, so
everything, contracts, invoices, drawings. We generate a lot. We used to generate a lot of paper, right? So we're trying not to do that anymore.
So is there a plan for them to turn this information over to us so that we're not paying them this fee annually?
There certainly has been a conversation about whether we could afford a staff member that could help with the library, but we also don't have the equipment. And right now we still have our kind of chronic understaffing. So no, we haven't prioritized this position.
So I guess my question would then just be, I guess this is a pretty hefty annual cost for them to maintain the documents, and I'm sure we're going to get more as we move forward with the climate action plan and we're really going green. So I guess I'm just wondering, and maybe this is part of the climate action plan, if we're going to dedicate staff towards I guess cloud space to manage our digital files.
Yeah. I definitely would need to talk to IT about the cloud part. Right? I don't know.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other, Vice Chair Williams?
Can you explain what it might take to take a drawing, an old drawing that we might have, and put it into the cloud? And when you're talking about digitizing it and making it searchable, can you explain what that entails and the individuals that may be involved in that process?
Yeah, they have a few staff members that help. So we had a lot of blueprints. I mean, these few 100-page documents, and we had the ability to scan some of the smaller ones, but that's just, a flat document. We needed to be able to search door schedules. We needed to be able to search named HVAC equipment, and that is something we just don't have the capacity or the equipment to do. So that's something they did en masse. Not just, it was in our halls, but it was also in several other administrative buildings. We just had stacks of paper. And they're very valuable. They save you money when it comes time to renovate or to look back, to be able to pull that up. As Board Member Williams said, wherever we are live in these project meetings, it's invaluable.
So if you were to talk about a drawing in itself, just one page, even if it's just the cover page of a drawing, there is information that's on there that if you're taking it and putting it on a scanner, you have to have a person that understands what's on that drawing in order to interpret it to be searchable. You can't just scan it in and then the computer automatically grabs that information. Right, and we want to maintain
scale so we can still do takeoffs from it as well.
Correct.
Right?
So you were talking about an engineer or a project manager or someone who understands drawings. But then on the flip side, you're talking about the digitizing or computerizing of that. Then you're talking about someone with a different specialty that would have to do that. So we're not necessarily talking about just one staff member that would take that and be able to interpret it.
You're right. It would be a few. Right.
Okay. And then if we're talking about the invoices and things like that, that it goes into a financial piece, a legal piece, and things like that in order to take that information, digitize it, make it searchable, to put it into categories that can be searched from finance, architects, project managers,
MBE
legal.
Vendor, everything, right.
Okay. Thank you very much. So $140,000 a year to put 207 schools up in the cloud to make them accessible by legal, architects, engineers, finance.
Terabytes of data, easily searchable, right, and then 3 to 4 staff members working on it for us, yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Board Member Boozer Strother.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it is actually quite timely that we're talking about these scans and about the Climate Change Action Plan because of our highly aged infrastructure, and that these plans, I remember this conversation before I served on the board when when we switched over, I believe it was 2018, I came to a board meeting and talked about the cost of this, and at that time, I know digitization is highly valuable because of searchability and everything that you can't do. I mean, I remember, I think Mr. Stefanelli or someone else describing these massive sheets of blueprints hanging in buildings. I had this image of all over the county lost from 1950, right? So I thought it was an excellent idea, but the one thing I would actually say, I think what these scans do will save us in the big picture on maintenance and construction, and being able to find those inefficiencies in the utilities. And so I think this isn't the line item I would say the Climate Change Action Plan would reduce. I think this line item will actually help us with the much bigger costs that we're trying to reduce. So I do, but I love that connection that you made, colleague Adam Stafford. I think you're right on that this is the information that's driving this. Thank you.
Board Member Sheila Adams, Kenneth Harris.
Yeah, never mind, Dr. Miller. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, Board Member Adam Stafford.
So I guess, just just following up, if we can learn more about sort of what this company will do in terms of capacity building internally for us to manage these documents, because they are important, and to have some gradual release of this over time so that we can build internal capacity to either do the scanning or manage the scanning or the documents in whatever form that might be. Because I could imagine that, you know, ultimately that would be our goal, to have it something that we can manage in-house. So that's all I'm asking.
Did you intend to?
Yeah, I thought of my question again.
Okay, Board Member
Hey,
Harris.
How are you doing? Just to play devil's advocate here, does the company that we're utilizing provide some form of redundancy or digital backup or anything like that, in case hypothetically this company goes under and they're managing our scans? What happens then?
Well, I don't think, we wouldn't lose access to everything they scanned, right? It's backed up. It's on a few different servers. I just can't imagine we would lose anything. Even if they went under, our information wouldn't be deleted.
Okay.
Right?
No, that's
We
fine.
very much own it, right?
Yeah, I'm really just asking for my own knowledge in terms of like fault management and things like that, because folks lose data all the time, and that could be a massive data loss. So I'm not trying to pick at you at all. I'm just,
No,
asking.
I could get you the information on the backups and even the security behind it. Right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Board Member Harris. Any additional questions or discussion? Calling for the vote. Roll call, Ms. Berkeley, please.
Yes, ma'am. And this is for the
budget
entire budget consent agenda items 5.1 for 5.5?
Correct.
Thank you. Mrs. Adams Stafford?
Is it too late to pull an item out, or
We have a motion on.
it's too late?
We're having a vote right now.
Oh, can you come back to me then?
Call the roll. Continue, Ms. Berkeley.
Ms. Boozer Strother?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Lasai Frazier?
Aye.
Mrs. Mickens Murray?
Aye.
Dr. Z. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Murray?
Abstain.
Mr. Thomas?
Abstain.
Mr. Valentine?
Aye.
Mrs. Williams?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Returning to Mrs. Adams Stafford?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Three abstentions? 8 ayes.
The motion passes to approve the budget consent agenda. Next is item number 6.0, governance, second readers, unfinished business. Board Member Boozer Strother, please introduce item 6.1.
Thank you so much, Chair Miller. Colleagues, tonight is the culmination of more than a year of hard work by a dedicated group of students, parents, PGCPS staff, climate action experts, and elected officials at the county and state level that constituted the membership of the Climate Change Action Plan Focus Work Group of the PGCPS Board of Education. It has been an honor to serve as co-chair of this group. I would like to thank all of the work group members and thank the members who came this evening to speak to the specifics in the plan during the public comment session. Thank you, Nathan Gadara, for representing the student members of the work group. Also, thank you to Ezra and Hal from Kenmore Middle School who came this evening to share with us your excellent arts integration version of the plan. We thank you so much for taking the time to visualize the plan in that manner so that we could share it with your fellow students. Each of you inspires us to work with the urgency that the climate crisis demands of us. A deep dive into every aspect of our school system is demanding work, but due to the leadership and endless energy of the volunteer co-chair of the work group, Joseph Jakuda, we stayed inspired and focused while we all managed our school, personal and professional lives through the COVID-19 global pandemic. This work group operated solely in Zoom, and this evening is the first time that some of us have actually met each other face to face. I would like to invite Joseph to the podium for some remarks on behalf of the volunteers of the work group as we conclude our work this evening.
Remember to do the mic this time. I just want to say it was an honor to work on this work group. I feel proud that I was able to benefit the Prince George's County Public School community. Particularly, it was great to work with the students who have been working with Ms. Kipling and Ms. Novick in Eleanor Roosevelt High and Kenmore Middle School. Working with the staff on this climate action plan. They were so thoughtful and hardworking, in particular working with Ms. Alston, Holton, Ms. Gillespie, and Mr. Hill, as well as the board staff, Valerie Irwin and David Smith. They are the glue that held this all together. I also want to thank the other advocates, Mr. Palencia Calvo and Mr. Goldberg, Ms. Edison, Ms. Wetterman, and Ms. Ruse. Their passion for solving this problem at hand has been vital and encouraging to us all. And the elected officials that have been involved, Delegate Lehman, Councilmember Taveras, Board Member Williams, and most importantly, my board co-chair, Board Member Boozer-Strother. I look forward to continuing to work with all the parents and the board staff and students to help PGCPS achieve this vision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Today, the work group recommends that PGCPS will take 58 specific actions for a carbon neutral future. These actions will put PGCPS on a path to 100% clean source electricity by 2030, 100% clean energy in all energy sectors, including heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and cooking by 2040, 100% clean transportation by 2040, 100% zero food waste by 2030, and 100% zero landfill waste by 2040. And we will lead by example to support transformational change. And on this point, I would like to share the news that the work group process and plan has already been recognized with an invitation by the renowned Aspen Institute to participate in a session at the Aspen Ideas Climate Conference next month. We've been invited by the Aspen Institute's K-12 Climate Action Project. And additionally, we are receiving invitations from various organizations throughout the county and the state to discuss how we did our work plan and our actual action items. And colleagues, I ask for your adoption of this plan so that we can move to implementation. All of the 58 actions provide opportunities for collaboration between students, staff, parents, community advocates, and elected officials. I am pleased to announce that Board Member Kenneth Harris of District 7, who is a nationally recognized STEM expert, will be a leader of this phase of our work. I yield to you, Board Member Harris, for remarks.
Thank you so much, Board Member Boozer-Strother. To be a product of the Prince George's County school system and to get into a career where I'm actually able to build and integrate these amazing things that observe climate change from a bird's eye view, that's an amazing opportunity and something that I feel this plan is incredibly important. So I'm so honored to be tapped for the opportunity to help spearhead the integration efforts of the Climate Change Action Plan. A huge thanks to all the students, constituents, board members, administrative members, and anyone else that I didn't mention tonight. I'm so looking forward to working with you, Dr. Golson, and your staff as we work to tackle these global issues, because as we know, this is not just a Maryland problem. Items on this plan speak to local concerns like those highlighted in the Maryland 2030 Greenhouse Gas Reduction Plan, as well as conversations that are being had on the United Nations level as far as their UN sustainability goals go. Through the recommendations of our and collaboration with Dr. Golson, we hope to achieve the reduction of our own carbon footprint from PGCPS buildings, commitment to lower carbon school transportations, commitment to renewable energy sources, and so much more. I'm so proud to be able to work with this group and continue to put ourselves in a posture that has allowed the world to have their eyes on Prince George's County Public Schools. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Board Member Harris. Dr. Goldson, would you like to make some remarks?
Yes, thank you. I really just want to thank the work group for the amazing work that they have done for more than a year and creating clearly delineated 58 actions that we can now begin to implement. And the hard work starts now. But we don't shy away from hard work. We're excited about the opportunity to make a better school learning and working environment for all. I had the opportunity to talk to some of the students who were integral in having their voice heard, and that is why their legacy will continue in our actions over the next 20 years. So thank you so much. I want to just give an extra special thank you to Board Member Boozer Strother and for Mr. Jakuda. We're not paid. They spent a lot of time working on this. And if it were not for the opportunity to utilize virtual instruction, we probably wouldn't be where we are now. So because of the opportunities of virtual instruction, we're able to see this plan come to fruition today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goldson and Board Member Harris. Before I yield back to Dr. Miller, I'd like to acknowledge the steering committee of the work group that managed our near daily work. David Smith from the board office, Valerie Irvin, administration's representative, Kate Colzoni, a professional facilitator and PGCPS parent who volunteered her time, and of course Joseph Jakuda, PGCPS parent and leader of the Climate Action Parents of Prince George's. It has been an absolute honor to serve with all of you, and I look forward to our future work together and implementing the plan. And also to thank you to all of my colleagues who have given feedback throughout the process and given us encouragement through a lot of work that we had to get to this point. So thank you all so much, and I yield back to you, Dr. Miller, for discussion and vote.
Thank you, Board Member Struthers. Now, may I have a motion to approve item 6.1, Climate Change Action Plan Focus Work Group Priority Recommendations and Presentation?
Oh. But I'm supposed to.
So moved.
I move that we accept the recommendations from the Climate Action Plan Group, Focus Work Group, led by Pamela Boozer Strother.
A second.
It has been moved in second to approve the Climate Change Action Plan Focus Work Group Priority Recommendations and Presentation. Vice Chair Williams, is there discussion?
No discussion. I just wanted to make a comment and really just congratulate Board Member Boozer Strother on this work from the beginning. The concept of this, it was a big lift, and she started this and she led this not wanting to operate as normal. She saw a problem and she went after a solution with the community group support, and I just want to say congratulations on a job well done. And it shows when outsiders look at you and they want to know more and they invite you. So congratulations on the Aspen invitation and the others that are come. PGCPS, we always lead, and with this board, we have been leading a lot in not just the state, but also the nation and the world. With this one, this is just one more feather in our cap to say that we don't want to operate as usual. We want to do things different. We want to solve problems. And I just wanted to say congratulations on taking on this challenge. Job well done. I'm looking forward to seeing the exciting things that's going to come out of this. So good job.
Thank you. And I concur with Vice Chair Williams' comments. Now for the vote. Ms. Berkeley, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Motion to approve item 6.1. Mrs. Adams Stafford?
Aye.
Ms. Boozer Strother?
Aye.
Mr. Saron Ruiz?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mrs. Lasai Frazier?
Aye.
Mrs. Mickens Murray?
Aye.
Dr. Z. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Murray?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. Valentine?
Aye.
Mrs. Williams?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Now, colleagues, we will, again, congratulations, Board Member Boozer Strother. Colleagues, please turn your attention to item 6.2, Board of Education 2022-23 calendar. Vice Chair Williams has made a request for an amendment to the calendar to reflect the meeting in the month of May to avoid any potential conflicts or overscheduling of administration due to the graduation season. Vice Chair Williams, would you please make your motion with the included amendment?
I move that we accept the Board of Education meeting calendar for 2022 to 2023 with the amendment of removing the meeting in May 25th, 2023, as it may conflict with the graduation season.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries to eliminate May 25th, or have May 25th removed from our the Board of Education calendar. Thank you. Next, we will go to Dr. Golson. Please introduce items 6.3 and 6.4.
Item 6.3 and item 6.4 requires board approval of the naming of the new Adelphi Area Middle School to Adelphi Middle School, and item 6.4, the naming of the new Southern Area K-8 Academy to the Colin L. Powell K-8 Academy.
May I have a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation from Dr. Golson to name the Adelphi Middle School, and the Southern Area K-8 Academy to Colin L. Powell K-8 Academy.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second to rename two schools, one Adelphi Area Middle School to Adelphi Middle School, and the Southern Area K-8 Academy to Colin L. Powell K-8 Academy. Is there any discussion? Vice Chair Williams.
I just wanted to say congratulations on another milestone in the Alternative School Construction Funding Project. I mean, it is just amazing to see just a few years ago when the idea started, then we broke ground, and now we're naming the schools. Next year, the schools will open. Again, Prince George's County is leading in many areas throughout the state and the nation, so congratulations, Dr. Golson.
Board Member LaSalle Frazier.
I just want to say I'm very excited about having the school's name. I would just consider, as we move forward with new buildings, we have so many Latino role models. We should honor some of them. Adelphi has a large population of Latinos, and I'm just wondering why we didn't consider a Latino name for that school.
Dr. Golson, there's a process that has to be followed, am I correct?
Yes, that is correct, and we outlined it in the board action summary. So a group of committee members were convened. They did a survey. They met 5 times. They also did a community survey. We provided the results of those survey results as well, and listed the top 3 names of the names that the community wanted. The first one was Adelphi Middle School, which is what we're presenting here with 313 votes. Adelphi Mill, which had 181 votes. And the third one was Sonia Santamayor for 106. There were recommendations in the future that we make sure that we, at least for the names of the people, that we recommend that we do put a history of that person with the explanation so that people know specifically who they are when they're voting.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Board Member Boozer Strother.
Thank you so much, Chair Miller, and I would like to thank my colleague, Board Member Frazier, for raising this topic, especially about Adelphi Middle. One of the committee definitely had very robust conversations about recognizing Central and Latin American students' experience, history, culture, and frankly, some other names were brought forward of, individuals of, who may be renowned in education, such as a University of Maryland professor, and the community ultimately leaned towards keeping the name Adelphi Middle because this building sits on the grounds of Adelphi Elementary School. And so there is a rich history, deep history of the Adelphi community that continued to resonate in this process of the school families. And the school families were very clear about that. However, the process did open up a conversation that I had with Dr. Goldson about that the issue of why our community may not be familiar with very significant leaders in the community, such as the renowned University of Maryland professor who's miles away. And so what can we do now to address that need that we discovered through this process? And Dr. Goldson and I have discussed that we will begin a process that addresses that need, and it may even include looking beyond naming of a building, but looking at naming of the Library Media Center that has an annual lecture from a living legend who can come to the school, or naming of the auditorium or multipurpose room. So there's other pathways for Adelphi Middle to actually expand its recognition of important figures. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'm calling for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously to rename the Adelphi Area Middle School to Adelphi Middle School and the Southern Area K-8 Academy to Colin Powell K-8 Academy. Board Member Mickens Murray, would you please introduce items 6.5 through 6.8?
Madam Chair, before I do that, I need to correct 2.12, which Ms. Berkeley attempted to get me to correct. I should have made a motion for 4 policies, and I made the motion for 2. So should I make another motion to include all 4? Okay, thank you. Colleagues, I make a motion that we send new draft policy 120, Maryland Public Information Act, new draft policy pregnant and parenting students, new draft policy student registered sex offender entry onto school property, and the revised draft policy of 0107 ethics regulation for public comment. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries.
Okay, colleagues, I thank you for that. And when staff puts something in big print for you, you should read it. I should have read it. I'm sorry. I apologize. Now, we're going to the consent, not a consent agenda, rescission. 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8. 6.5, rescission policy 5110, public school choice transfer option. 6.6, rescission policy 5119.5, adult education tuition waivers, senior citizens. 6.7, rescission policy 5140, no child left behind. And 6.8, rescission policy 6157, study habits. And it's up for second reader. So I make a motion that we accept those policies 6.5 to 6.8 as second reader.
Okay. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries to approve the rescission of items 6.5 through 6.8. Thank you. New business. Board Member Mickens Murray, please introduce item 7.1.
Thank you, colleagues. The revised draft policy 5143, I make a motion that we, to move that bullying, harassment, or intimidation for first reader.
May I have a second? It has been moved in second to accept for first reader bullying, harassment, or intimidation policy, draft policy 5143. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries to accept the revised draft policy 5143, bullying, harassment, or intimidation. Thank you. Non-consent. If there are any items, there were none pulled. Follow-up items. Colleagues, follow-up items from April 7th board work session are posted on board docs for your review. Item 10.0, motion to confirm actions taken in executive session. To receive a report from the CEO, to discuss approved personnel appointments, to receive a report from internal audit, to receive an update on labor negotiations, to discuss personnel matters, to receive legal advice regarding pending litigation, and to discuss disclosure statements. May I have a motion to confirm the actions taken in the April 28th executive session?
So moved.
It has been moved in second to confirm the actions taken in the executive session on April 28th. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Excuse me, Dr. Miller, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if Alvaro can't second this because he can't confirm the actions for some of those, he didn't vote on.
Thank you, Ms. Berkman.
Yes, ma'am.
May I have a second? Second. It has been moved in second to confirm actions taken in the executive session. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The actions taken in the April 28th executive session are confirmed. Item 11.0, a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It has been moved in second to adjourn this meeting for the April 28th, 2022. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.